Well, hey, happy Tuesday. That's right, it's Tuesday, one of my top 7 favorite days of the week. Not as good as Friday, because you got to get down on Friday. But today's Tuesday, there's no getting down on Tuesday. Tuesday's all about work. Work. And of course, today about ecology and ecological relationships. And we're going to go back and revisit a couple of things that have to do with counting and food chains and food webs.
All right. Hey now.
Mr. Kovacs Class. It's Mr. Kovacs Class.
You might learn a ton.
It's Mr. Kovacs Class.
It's interesting too.
It's Mr. Kovacs Class.
And he's super cool.
It's Mr. Kovacs Class. All right. A lot of you are confused on the old mark and recapture technique of finding, we call it mark and recapture. So let's see if I can come up with I want to know how many honeybees there are in a hive. Right, so here's a honeybee. Look at bee looking. Right, and then there's a hive full of bees. Right, buzz. Well, okay. I don't know how many bees are in here, but they're flying all over the place. So I'm going to set out some traps. And I'm going to trap, I don't know, maybe I trap 100 bees. 100 bees. And I mark them all with some kind of marking on their bellies, their abdomen. Maybe I use a orange paint or something like that, so I can tell that they've been marked. And then I let them go. I come back the next day and I capture another 100 bees. But of those 100 bees, 40 have the mark. Okay, so how do I figure out how many bees? It's not 160. It's not the 100 bees plus the 60 left over unmarked bees. No, it's 100 out of the whole hive is going to be equal to 40 marked bees out of 100 captured bees. All right, and then we're going to do some cross multiplying. So 40 times the number of the hive equals 100 times 100, which is what? 10,000. Divide both sides by 40. Right? 40 goes into 10,000. Let's bust out the old calculator. This will give us a number of 450 bees. That's the total in the hive using mark and recapture. All right, so we're going to try another one. You're going to do another one. Let's say you want to catch chipmunks. This is a chipmunk. Cute. Okay, so let's say you go out and you catch 10 chipmunks and you mark them. You have now marked 10 out of the whole number of chipmunks. You come back the next day and you catch 10 more chipmunks. 2 of them have been marked. Let's see, 2 times what equals 100? You tell me, how many chipmunks would there be? Right, there'd be 50 chipmunks. That would be your population. This is what's cool as an ecologist then, is you could say, okay, right, we know how many chipmunks there are, right? There are 50 chipmunks. Well, we know that could support 5 ermites because of the rule of 10%, right? As you go up the energy pyramid, it's 10%. And that way, chipmunks would not have to worry about owls in this environment because there's just not enough chipmunks to support an owl. Now, granted, not all environments have just one food chain. So this owl might be part of many overlapping food chain. And that way, in fact, it would have to be. It's the only way it could survive, because if there's only 50 chipmunks, it couldn't survive in a food chain of just 50 chipmunks. See? Most likely there's a food web that involves chipmunks and owls, but also other animals, right? So that the chipmunk's not just dependent on one kind of food, and the owl's not just dependent on one kind of food, but of many layers, many different layers of food. Of course, they're all interconnected. They're all interwebbed, and that's why I call it a food web. Reason it's important to learn about food webs is because you need to understand that affecting one part of, let's say you like, ew, I got an infestation of grasshoppers, I'm going to kill all the grasshoppers. Well, that is going to have a direct effect on the number of shrews, right? The number of shrews, which will have an indirect effect on the number of hawks and the number of mountain lions. So by removing the grasshoppers, let's say, if that's what you wanted to get rid of because they were a pest, you're going to negatively affect other animals too that you weren't planning to affect. So it's important to know about how food webs and interacting food webs, and it's important to count populations too, because then you can know how many of these pests you can afford to lose, right? Maybe you can afford to wipe some out, right? But you can't wipe them all out because you're going to be affecting those. So you got to do a population count. You got to figure out how many you have, and then once you figure out how many you have, that would tell you how many you need to support these other populations. That's what ecology is all about. The give and take of interactions between organisms.